Next piece to the E36 puzzle is the Perspex windows. So you would know that I stripped out all of the doors, stripped out the windows, and was going to replace it with these Perspex ones. Hopefully it'll make a big difference to this E36 track car. Currently it's the only track item that I've got on this car. Bear in mind, I've spent the last 6 months on it, and this is the only piece of track modifications to the car so far. So it's from ACW Plastics, got driver side and passenger side. Gone for the GT slanted sliders for the windows. Big up Jasmine for picking them. There was a choice of normal sliders and the GT slanted ones. We've gone for the GT ones, so hopefully there's still enough room for a McDonald's, Coke and a Big Mac meal and all that sort of stuff. Otherwise we're going to have some problems when we hit McDonald's on a Saturday night. But we want to try and get these fitted over the next week or so. So I'm going to do a video showing you how I'm going to be fitting them. Let's walk around to the side. Actually it's this side, isn't it? Let's walk around to this side. So basically, obviously you would have seen that I've stripped out all of these. I'm going to fit this back up because these need to be fitted in place. So this will go inside like this. Obviously it's got the protective coating on it just so you don't scratch it as you put it in, but it will sit pretty much something like that. Voila. So basically I need to put the rubbers in now so we know it's all flush, and then we can just get them fitted properly. But hopefully that'll look quite cool once it's all in. Let's try and get them out without smashing it. So I think if we come on this side, you come around there. So I think basically how this works is these will fit in, and then you drill some bolts through the bottom of this, and then that will hold it in place. So I've looked at a couple of videos on ACW Plastics, and hopefully that they'll be easily fitted, but I haven't got a drill or anything like that. Maybe you can go get a drill in a bit. You can go get a drill, and then we might be able to get them fitted up. So yeah, 2 Perspex windows from ACW Plastics. Let's give this a bash and see how it comes out. Right, so you would know that when I was painting this door, I didn't really mask it up properly. So I've just got a little Stanley blade. I'm just going to take off all the overspray off the windows like so. So as you can see, it's coming straight off, and it won't scratch the glass either. But it's just a bit of a better process having to do this rather than using like thinners and all that sort of stuff to try and take it off, because you'll end up getting all over the paint and it will not be ideal. But something quite satisfying about that, to be fair. I think the overspray's on the inside as well, so we do this on the outside and then we'll run it through on the inside and hopefully it'll get it all off. But it's coming off quite well, to be fair. So I've put the Perspex windows in. I've fitted up all of the rubbers and stuff. So put these on first, put the rubbers in. That needs to be sat in a little bit more, to be fair, by the looks of it. These are loosely fitted at the minute, so I've just wedged these in place, but so far so good. So I think what I need to do is put the trim piece in here as well as in the actual door, so then we can obviously look to make sure it's actually fitted up properly. But as you see, it's actually nice and tight. So I think what we're going to have to somehow do is drill something in here that goes in there to stop it from moving about and stuff, but I don't really have a clue. So I'm going to do some YouTube videos and hope for the best, because I've seen some people put some M6 bolts through here into the Perspex and then they've basically just sent it on. But that's going to look mad when you're in there, and you can obviously just use these like so, which will probably get most use, like I said, at McDonald's drive-through. But it's going to look pretty cool when it's all done, that's for sure. Little sniper, mate, see that? See that? That's mad. So the Perspex windows are in. We fitted up all of the rubbers and stuff. Just got to make sure this lines up. Well, we'll probably have a look at that properly in a minute, because some bits are coming out. But that is all in. It's nice and tight. What we're going to have to do, we've got some of these M6 bolts. I think basically you put like a nut here to keep it nice and tight, and another nut in like each side of the Perspex. So if we grab one of these quick, I'll show you without messing up the drill. So it'd be something like, let's have a look. So I think there'd be 3. So one would go pretty much like that. So that's between, I'll show you probably in a sec, but this is basically what I'm thinking it's going to be like. No clue. So there'll be 3 on air, and it'd go like this. So this one would go between these. This one would go this side of the perspex, and that one would go other side of the perspex, and that will obviously keep it nice and tight. And then you could just adjust these however you want to get them nice and tight. So we've got the drill, which I've been testing out. I think that's the same sort of size. Looks a little bit big, but it should be right, shouldn't it? Probably could do with a little smaller one really, but hopefully that'll be fine. Just do a little test. We don't know what size it is, that's the only thing. So what I'll end up doing is drill through there and drill through down here somewhere, and then hopefully that'll be these windows fitted up. It sounds easier, well, it's easier said than done, but we'll send it on and hope for the best. Drilling like that. How do we know?
The right way?
I don't know, I'm switching it around. What way's the right way?
That way.
Huh?
That way's the right way.
Yeah. Need some more fucking depth flow, maybe that one, who knows. After about an hour of trying to figure out how to use a drill, and after all of the assistance by my lovely girlfriend Jasmine, I was finally cracking on with drilling some holes in the panels of the doors. So I was drilling 3 holes, one either side and then one in the middle, that were going to be like a pilot hole to make sure we had enough room for the bolts to go in. Although I did actually realise that the drill bits that we were using wasn't the right drill bits for this certain material, so I had to send Jasmine off to get some new drill bits. So I thought while she was doing that, I'll crack on with the driver's side, I'll get that one fitted up, and then we can work out exactly how that one works, and we can go back to the passenger side and get that one fitted up properly. What I would say is, if you are fitting up these windows to your car, do what I'm doing here. Just make sure that all the rubbers are in properly, and make sure the window is exactly where you want it, as you wouldn't want to drill 3 holes in this plastic to then realise that there was air gaps or anything like that. So make sure that it's all fitted properly before you drill your pilot hole. So after about 2 messing about with the perspex windows, we finally figured out the way to fit these properly. We've used 50mm, 3 50mm M6 bolts, but bear in mind there's a couple of areas that are slightly longer. So this one is slightly longer, that one's slightly shorter, and that one's pretty much a flush fit. I did have, I haven't got any on me, I think that they're these. So I did have these little 25mm ones, but they weren't long enough to go through this piece of the door and into the second part. So we had to go to Screwfix this morning and get some 50mm M6 bolts, and we had to replace the DeWalt drill piece kit, because I did snap a drill piece and they actually just gave me a brand new set, which is pretty mad. But we figured out the way to do it. It's been a bit of a faff. We've had to strip some of the rubbers out, because obviously we put all the rubbers in so the window fits properly, but now it's all in properly. We just need to try and figure out a way to sort out these. Maybe we'll at some point put a nut in behind there to stop there being a massive gap and stuff like that. But it is completely tight. It's solid, so there's no movement in that whatsoever. So we'll do the other one. I'll do a little time lapse on that, and I'll talk through exactly what we're doing, so you get an idea on how to fit it and all that sort of stuff, and exactly what I'm doing. But I think we'll get this one off, get all the white protective film off, and we'll see what it looks like when it's done. I think you're going to do that, aren't you? You're going to take all the protective film off, because that's a satisfying job. But yeah, it's taken literally a day and a half to try and figure out these windows. Well, it's probably not really, to be fair, is it? But the time we've spent on it, it's definitely been a good few hours. But yeah, we'll get all this protective film off, and then we'll crack on with the passenger side. Jasmine, do the honours. Quite sweet. gap then, which is where the flexible van pull this black piece in with the gap in the door. That's nice. Do you want that? Really? Come back to it in a minute. Once the driver door was all done, we then cracked on with finishing off the passenger side. So just checking to make sure that the window was in place before we drilled the rest of the pilot holes. Like I said earlier, we drill 3 holes in total, 1 either side and 1 in the middle, just to make sure that there is enough fittings in place and the glass doesn't move around. Every door might be different, but what I was doing with mine, I was putting my hand in behind the panel just to make sure I didn't drill through the door itself. As I've just spent about 6 months trying to restore this car and do all the paintwork myself, and the last thing I would have wanted to do is drill straight through, which would have meant I'd have had to repaint the doors, which I wouldn't have been very happy about. What I needed to do with these doors, there was 2 bits of metal that I needed to drill through, and obviously the plastic in between. So I was putting my hand in just to make sure that I wasn't drilling through the 3rd bit, which would have been the outer skin of the door. So what I would recommend is, with this process, just make sure you take it extra slow, you be a bit cautious, and if you can get your hand in behind, just from where the door card was, I would definitely do that just to make sure that you're not drilling any further than what you need to. I was basically putting my hand on the inside of the outer skin of the door just to make sure that if I was going to drill anything, it would have been my fingers rather than the door itself. I know it sounds mad, as some people probably would prefer the door to be drilled rather than the hand, but like I said, I didn't want to spend another 6 months having to repaint this E36 again, as I'm simply done with painting this car. Once all the holes are then drilled, that's where you can get your bolts and start feeding them through. So you're just feeding them through enough where you can get the bolts on. Obviously you need 3 nuts in total, and you're basically putting them in between each side of the plastic glass just to make sure it was all fully tight. There might be a better way of doing this, so if you've got a better way, then please do let us know, but this was how we've seen some other videos when they were fitting the ACW Motorsport plastic windows. So we're on to the next window, as you can see. We've just done a little time lapse on that. Just show you what I've done, or what we've done, let's say we drilled a hole through this top bit ×3, and then we've got the M6 bolts here. We've drilled right through to the perspex, and then the bit on the other side of the glass. So basically like another piece of this on the other side underneath the rubber. So this is going straight through there. Basically what we wanted to do is get another nut on the other side of it, and then obviously we'll have 2 clamping, but there's not enough room to get our fingers through, so we're basically just using the pressure of this going all the way through, then tighten this up to the perspex, and that'll keep it in place. But before we put these on properly, what we've learnt from the other side is we'll take off all of this plastic first, because it was a nightmare trying to take off, not the plastic, the protective coating, take all that off first before we actually drill it in place, because like I said, it was a nightmare, and there's still a little bit of white like protective stuff on there. And someone scratched the glass, haven't they? Hey? So we want to make sure we don't do that again. But yeah, so whilst this is loosened off for a sec, we'll take all this off and then we'll tighten it up properly. Bosh! Once we finished the driver's side a little bit earlier, we realised there was a few things we were going to be doing differently when we got around to doing the passenger one. So we didn't actually properly secure the bolts right in after we drilled the holes and put the bolts in. We thought we'd leave it a little bit loose, just so it meant then we can get the plastic film off the outside of the window, as when we were doing the driver's one we tightened it all in place, and then when we was taking the film off it all just got stuck in behind the rubbers, as we had no room to play with, which was a bit of a nightmare. So as you can see there, the bolts are a lot further out, which meant we could pick out the plastic window as much as we could, and then we can obviously take off all the protective film, and then there was none left in behind the rubbers, and then obviously it meant we had enough sort of flexibility where we could put the window back in, and then we could concentrate on getting the bolts fitted up. So once all of the protective film was off and we was happy that the window was in place exactly where we wanted it, that's where we decided to finally start doing up the windows properly. Like I said, for the driver's one we made the error of getting it all fitted up, getting it all tight, and when it came around to removing the plastic film, it was just an absolute headache. You do want to try and leave the plastic film on for as long as you can, as if you do take it off early, the plastic windows scratch really easily. So if you're like leaning against it, if you're brushing against it, and if you've got tools next to it, the plastic will scratch really easily. It does say when you're cleaning these windows that you've got to be extra careful for it, and you can't just use normal chemicals on it, as it will get scratched quite badly. And then as soon as it gets scratched, they're pretty much buggered, as you can't see out of them, especially when you've got direct sunlight on them. So it is best off, when you are fitting these windows, you are extra cautious and try and leave that plastic film on for as long as you possibly can. So we now have Perspex windows in the E36, which is absolutely awesome. Bit of a nightmare to fit, only because we're completely inexperienced with fitting these. But I think if you had a bit of knowledge around this, it would probably take you an hour max. But yeah, we've got the ACW 4mm plastic windows. Can't remember what you actually call it. What are they? Polycarbonate windows? That's what they are called. We've got GT SLANTED sliders, so when we're McDonald's and all that sort of stuff, we've got enough room to hopefully get a burger through. But yeah, happy with that. You happy with that? Happy with the windows, the sliding ones? You picked these, so you're going to have to be happy with it. The only thing is a couple of little bits that are not working properly, but hopefully the more that we use it, the easier it'll get. But definitely looks a lot better. We're happy with the result. All we got to do now is fit up a few other little bits on the outside. We've got to do the mirrors, got to do some of the trim clips and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's the outside done. Then all it'll be a case of getting it all sanded properly, getting it all polished, and then just finishing touches like all the windscreen and stuff, which should be quite cool, along with the interior, of course, because all the bits are in the interior of the car. But yeah, that's the windows done. Happy with that result. Thanks to ACW Plastics for sending these out. They're awesome. Fitment wise, it's absolutely perfect. It's spot on. There's no issues whatsoever. We could have just done with a fitting kit. So yeah, on to the next thing on the E36, which will be fitting up the last few bits, getting it polished up, well, getting it sanded, getting it polished up, and then getting the windscreens and that in. See you on the next one. That's the end of this video after we finally completed the windows on the E36. We fitted the ACW MOTORSPORT plastic windows with the GT slanted sliders, which are going to be absolutely awesome around track and around McDonald's on a McDonald's roulette. If you like this video, please do make sure you give it a like, comment down below, share it around, and most importantly, subscribe to be the first people that keep up to date with the videos on the BMW E36 track car build.